talk to you about iPads and the digital learning program that Lakeside is bringing to all 4th and 5th graders this year. So I'm assuming you heard the word because you're here that all 4th and 5th graders will have the opportunity to bring iPads home with them this year as part of the expansion on our digital learning program.
Sandy.
So because our superintendent could not be here, he recorded a little message and asked that I play it for you. So this is Dr. Lorden, our superintendent, welcoming you to tonight's presentation.
Parents, I'm excited that you are here to learn more about our digital learning for Lakeside Union School District. We have been on a journey to provide every student a device for the past 5 years. We have been successful and are getting ready to put in the hands of every one of our students, grades 4 through 8, a device to take home. Today you are here to learn about this program, what you can do to support it, and what learning will look like in a digital world for your student. Lakeside, our mission is to provide students with a 21st century education that prepares them to be global citizens. We know that we are preparing students for a world that really is going to be quite different even when they graduate from high school than it is today. So we have to be thinking ahead, and we're trying to really meet that goal head on. We have to answer this call of preparing our students for global competence through technology, through curriculum, through 21st century learning skills such as collaboration, communication, problem solving, and we believe that tying technology to our curriculum and instruction is the best way to make that happen. So we're excited about that. Tonight you're going to learn about what a take-home program looks like, about what support looks like from you at home. You're also going to learn about different things that our teachers are going to be doing in the classroom with the technology. So get ready. Enjoy the evening, and thank you for your continued support in the Lakeside Union School District.
So when we were talking about digital learning for students, one of the conversations that we were having is, what does today's student look like? You know, why is their world so different than ours? And last week we had a representative from Apple come out, and he was saying that the children that are in this room have never known life without the possibility of having an iPod with 1,000 songs in their pocket. And I think how different that is than when I was growing up, and I started with 8 tracks, and my dad had records, and then we had the cassette tapes, and then the CD visor, but you're kind of limited. I'm tired of these 10 CDs, what now? And so these students now have access to information, have access to anything they want at any time. It really changes the dynamics of learning and what their world is like. So as we were sitting talking about it, one of my instructional coaches, Steve, said, I think I can capture that in a video. And so this video is made all with the tools that your students will have access to. And so this is Steve's take on today's student.
For the student of today, it is of utmost importance to learn the skills needed to thrive in this new century. So the question for us is, how can we ensure our students are prepared for the 21st century? How do we provide the education they need to embrace their future? What do we need to do as a community of educators to meet the challenge? To prepare our students to fully participate in this century, we need to understand how different not only the world is, but how different these students are compared to those from the 20th century. When we think about education in this century, we need to understand fundamental ways in which our world has changed. Our students are entering in an economy based on innovation, an economy that no longer cares if you know more than the other person. This is the new economy that values what you can do with that information. This means learning new skills such as communicating effectively, working collaboratively, creative problem solving, and thinking critically. To develop our students to be the innovators they need to be, we are providing them tools and learning to ensure they are ready for this century. With a mobile device in the hands of every student, we can push onward by providing the learning opportunities each student needs. we can provide for a variety of learning experiences and build their ability to communicate and collaborate effectively, to think critically, to solve real-world problems, and to develop innovative solutions. Learning will no longer be limited to the walls of the school. We know that learning outside of school matters tremendously for the learning in school. With these devices, students will be encouraged to extend their learning by giving them time, space, and confidence to learn, as well as develop the skills needed for this century. By equipping our students with today's tools, we prepare them to tackle tomorrow's world.
Is first of all, we were looking for expanded learning opportunities. It's not about the classroom. So when we went to school, the teacher had the knowledge, and when you left the classroom, you did your homework, but that was it. Now what we're realizing is students can learn anywhere at any time. So we want to be on the forefront of providing those expanded learning opportunities. We also wanted a mobile device that could allow for a variety of experiences. We don't just want the ability to do research on the internet or type papers. We really wanted something that could do a lot of different things. And as you saw from the video, those were our students from different schools. They're making movies, they're building charts, they're putting things together. That's what we were looking for. We wanted a device that could build creativity, collaboration, and problem-solving skills. So we don't want students sitting, staring at a device quietly in the classroom. We really wanted them to say, okay, what about this? And can you help me with that? And how are we putting this together? So it had to be something that was mobile enough to do that. And that could equip students to tackle tomorrow's world. So it had to be a device that could really change with the experience. Because what happens today, 6 months from now, might be obsolete. So we were really looking for something that could kind of bridge that gap. And what we decided was, we decided on the iPad. And it was really an intentional decision. We went to a lot of districts around the county, looked at every device that was out there. We looked at Windows tablets, laptops, Chromebooks, MacBooks, everything, and we settled on the iPad. And one of the reasons why, this is the last video I'll show you, I promise, is the versatility of the iPad to really be anything at any time for anybody. And this is what that looks like. Once we decided on a device, we really are intentional about making sure that it's not just a, here kids, here's an iPad, go do some learning or go have some fun. So we took some time and we've been working with teachers to build their competency and their kind of sense of direction of where we're going with this. And so this project has been a few years in the making. Some of you have probably been in classrooms where the teachers had some carts in their room, they've already been doing some stuff. And so we've really been working on what we've called our digital framework. And the idea behind this was that it's not about the tool, it's about the learning. And so when we started building out this chart, we started with, well, what is the standards that we want students to know? Well, we want them to learn how to read and to write and such. And then what about those, they call them like soft skills, the creativity, the collaboration? How do we want them to focus on those skills as well? And then how does technology support that? So it really kind of becomes the support tool and not the main focus. And we have instructional coaches that are working with teachers to do this. And two of them are in the back of the room right now, and I should have introduced them earlier. But Sandy Patterson and Kay Little are two of the instructional coaches that have been working with teachers to really help them think through what kinds of learning do we want students to do, how will they do that, and then how will the tool really emphasize and build on that. Once we have that, then we were able to see what does a day in the life look like for these students. So when your child comes home this year, what types of things will they be doing? This is the big part, right? It's not about, well, I did my worksheet on my iPad. We really are looking at transforming. So they can use apps like Explain Everything, which takes screenshots to really start documenting science experiments. So instead of drawing the picture of this is what it looked like, they can film it. They can draw over what they filmed to highlight what's going on in those processes. The ability for a student to go home and grab their iPad and be able to explain how they did a math problem is huge for a teacher to look at and say, oh, based on your explanation, I can see you messed up in step 3, and that's where you're getting it wrong, instead of just saying, well, number 5 is wrong. They can really look at the whole process and be able to help students out. We also know that students will be researching on these devices, so we looked at different apps that allow them to brainstorm. So instead of just taking notes on a Word document, they can build those out in different tools. They can collaborate on projects. So this might not be internet research, but this could be how are we going to get this project done? And they can start to map out who's doing what and what that's going to look like on their device. They can use things like iMovie, like we showed you earlier, the one by our instructional coach, Steve, to maybe create tutorials for other students or a public service announcement. There's a huge movie competition in San Diego County for students. They can create movies to enter into that competition. They might be able to produce a short film based on a play that happens on campus. Really, it's just infinite possibilities. And then one of the other things, and definitely not the least of which, is the ability to take those ideas and start sketching. So really tapping into the visual aspects, the creative aspects of the brain. And there's a lot of research that says that if students can sketch out their notes, they'll retain it longer. So now they can do that. They can create art. I've seen some beautiful art that students are doing just with their finger on an iPad. Of course, there's also stylus and such too, but again, that ability to design conceptual models and really be able to draw on the devices. So, that's kind of the snapshot of what it looks like in the classroom. What I want to do is kind of take a step back a little bit and tell you what that looks like now for you. So that's what students are doing in the classroom. They can do a lot of that stuff with cards, but how is it different now that we're sending devices home? I do want to thank you, for those of you that live in Lakeside, because this is Measure L funding. This is the property tax that you agreed to that's really funding this program. So, this is your tax dollars hard at work. And then what we're also doing is leveraging funds from the state. They changed their funding formula, so we're using their funds for the apps that are on here, for the training that the teachers go to, for all of the software and such, as we upgraded the wireless. So a lot of that is with funding from the state, so really using multiple sources. So to back up, we talked about that 4th through 8th grade will be taking it home. 2nd and 3rd grade will continue with their classroom model. They have parts in the classroom, they'll keep going with that. What we're working on rolling out this year for K1 are some learning stations, so they'll have a few iPads in the classroom that they can use as needed for some experiences as well, so that this truly builds up as a child goes through the program. Students will be able to build a portfolio. What I mean by that is the work that they do on their iPad doesn't have to just live on their iPad. They'll be able to save it. So from the time they're in 2nd grade all the way through 8th grade, all their work can be stored in one spot. We're using Google Apps for Ed. So if you, I don't know who hasn't heard of Gmail or Google, but this is an education-owned aspect of it. So it's not your child went and created a Gmail and has email. It's all internal. So they can't communicate with the outside world through this portal. It's just an opportunity for them to save their work, to collaborate with each other on different projects and such. So again, they'll have access to store all of their work. And somebody said earlier, well, how do I get it to grandma? They've made something awesome. How do I get it to grandma? And I said, that's what's nice about Google Drive is they could go on any computer, log into their account and download it or then send it to whoever they want. So you'll definitely be able to share the work out. These are school iPads, so we've taken a lot of thought about how this is going to work. not be allowed to install or remove apps. So there won't be 50 Angry Bird versions, on the iPad. My daughter was a little disappointed about that. We manage it on the back end, so it's actually really cool that you can sit on an iPad and all of a sudden an app will start loading because the teacher or the district said, oh, we want to add this app to the iPad. It just silently pushes out the new apps as needed, or we can also remove apps. We're not allowing at this time for students to bring in their own iPads because we want to control that experience, and we certainly don't want to say to parents, hey, can you also, add these $40 worth of apps that we're adding to the other ones? We really want to keep that on our end for you. There is an internet filter system. I know that, as a parent, that's one of the questions I had. So at school, we know that there's a filter, and it does a pretty good job of making sure that students are where they need to be. That same filter is in place no matter where your child accesses the internet on this device. So it's called a proxy, and what that means is no matter where your child is, their device actually connects back through the school district before it goes out. So it seeks out and it says to the school district, is this a good place for me to be right now? And then it provides that same content filter in place. We've also added a geo-tracking software on this. So unlike Find My iPhone, where you lose your phone and then you're frantically going on and you're listening for that ding and hoping that maybe somebody didn't steal it and turn it off, the geo-tracker auto-updates in the back-end system so that if you lose it, we can go on and say, well, the last known location was this. And we can kind of backtrack from there and say, well, it was last at McDonald's. Maybe we could go to McDonald's and see if it's still there. And then we've also registered all of these devices with Apple. And this is a neat program that Apple offers. No matter what you do to this device, it will not wipe itself. You can tell it, replace all the content and settings and put me back to the beginning. And once it wipes and comes back up, it says, welcome to Lakeside School District. Enter a password to continue. So, if somebody says, oh, I'm going to steal this iPad, this is going to be great, there's nothing they can do on it. Works as a good doorstop, maybe, or a window jam, but that's about all it can do. And so it's another way that we can recover devices that might get lost or stolen. Speaking of which, we know that things happen, accidents happen, devices get left places, they get dropped. I'm a little worried standing up here right now that, I'm going to drop this. We know that the school district has taken out an insurance policy so that you don't have to have that stress on your hands. We're owning that stress for you. So we know that things happen. The first time it gets lost or stolen, we will replace it. We'll call the child in and say, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Here's your replacement, please be careful. The second time, we're going to say, oh, we really need you to be careful, so maybe we'll keep it at school for a little while until we figure out a good plan in place to make sure this doesn't happen again. And the third time, we'll keep it in school for the rest of the year, but we won't deny your child that opportunity to use it. The only time we would possibly seek out financial compensation is if your child says, whoosh, and throws it across the room. Okay? So we are, again, like I said, we're owning the insurance piece of this so that you don't have to, because it's more important to us that the learning takes place instead of worrying about, well, can you pay me $20 for this, or can I get $50 because you cracked the screen? We're going to take that on. So we talked about internet access. So at school, your child has internet access without a problem. If you have internet access at home, you can use it. Again, it will go through our content filter. Just like we tell teachers at school, it's not 100%. So it is a good idea to lean over once in a while and say, what exactly are you doing over there? If they're going ding, 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 try again. So, just to be aware of that. They can use these in public places. Starbucks has free internet, Boys and Girls Club, County Library. Again, it will go back through our content filter, so you don't have to worry about that piece of it. And if you don't have internet at home, we can help you out. Cox does have a program called Connect to Compete, where they're providing discounted internet to families who are in need. So if that's something you're interested in, you can let the secretary know, and we can get you that piece of information so you can follow through on that. But it is important to know that you don't have to have internet at home. A child's not going to be penalized because they don't have internet access. We will never say your child's homework tonight is to be online for 30 minutes working on something. Everything that goes home has the possibility of being done offline or an alternative way of getting stuff done. So I just don't want you to ever feel like, oh, we're going to the mountains for a week. We don't have internet access. It's okay. They might go through withdrawals, but it's okay. So next steps, you're here, you've done a fabulous job of meeting step one, which is to attend an orientation session. Sandy gave you the technology acceptable use policy, which is also in your first day packet, but on the very back side is a piece of paper specific to the iPad program. Has to be signed by both students and parents. So for those of you who brought your children, you can sign it, you can leave it with me before you leave. If your child's not here, not a big deal. You can bring it to school when school starts. Either way works for us. Your child will receive the iPad, we're hoping for the second or third week of school, depending on how quickly we can get all these forms back and get this process turned around. Once your child gets these iPads, they're going to find on their device in their iBooks, they're going to find a student handbook that was created by us that you'll review with your students. And it just talks about things that we've talked about, how to be safe with the iPad, things like don't drop it or don't take it in the bathtub with you, things of that nature, things you don't think you have to say, but then you do have to say them. All of the children will go through digital citizenship training with their teacher. So the teacher will be talking to them about how to be safe online, how to save their work in an efficient manner so that the student always has access to the things they need. We're going to take care of that as well. And then it's a learning. So we know that there's going to be a lot of questions, and so we have multiple ways for you to stay connected with us, and we put these on the handout that you have as well. We have a web page where all the forms, the handbook, the papers you have in front of you are all stored online. If you go to the district website, there's a big link right there to it. We created a help desk email, so you can email our help desk and say, hey, I'm having an issue with this, and we can email you back. Or you can call us. Of course, a lot of times we're out running around, but we will return calls every day. So if you wanted to leave us a voicemail, you could do that as well. Of course, you're always welcome to email me. And then we have Instagram, which we're really promoting this year as a way to get you inside the classrooms as well, so you can see every day, what's going on in these classrooms around the district. So you can follow us on Instagram or Twitter as well. I think I went crazy fast. So I'm going to take a deep breath and turn it back to you and ask you if there are any questions that I can answer for you. You're in my second group, so I'm still learning what I need to add to my presentation.
I don't know if I missed this or not. Is there any sort of cover or case you want?
Oh, that's what I forgot. I was going to bring one. There is a cover for it. It's a very durable, it's not a life-proof case, but it looks kind of like a life-proof case that we will send home with it, so students will keep them in that case. It does have a little kickstand on the back of it, so it's really durable. We've dropped them on accident and nothing's happened. It's just kind of rolled around. Another thing that might come up is the issue of summer. We will collect the iPads over the summer so that we can run updates. 4th grade students will get the same iPad back in 5th grade. 5th grade students will get a different iPad because the 6th grade iPads have more memory on them because they're going for 3 years and doing more intense projects, so we bought bigger capacity iPads. So they'll get a new one in 6th grade that will follow them 6th, 7th, and 8th grade year. What else?
Remind me what your first name is.
Laura.
Will they have all of the, so if they end up doing Schoology or anything else, will those apps actually be on there
Yes.
to make it parent and student friendly?
Yes. It starts with, I said earlier, I think I said 22 apps, and somebody said, that seems like a lot, and I thought, yeah, it is a lot, but there's a lot of, all of Apple's apps and stuff are on there. But we have Haiku, which is what most of the teachers are using right now. If teachers use Schoology, we can put that one on there as well. We added Khan Academy to help with the math skills and things like that. We added iMovie for the projects and such, some sketching tools. We tried to think of a little bit in all the different arenas so that their creativity skills are met, their ability to collaborate, their ability to do their schoolwork, their ability to save their files. We really tried to put apps in all those different areas. And down the road, those will grow. And that's what's neat is that, there could be 22 apps one day, and maybe by the end of October, there's 26 apps because the teacher has wanted certain apps added, and we can customize each classroom's iPad set as they go along.
Can they access all this through our home computer?
In terms of accessing which part?
Well, can she go on our home computer, access the stuff on there, and do work on the home computer that will match up to that, or she got to do all the work on the iPad?
So you have, I should say, it's a yes and a no. Depending on what they're working on, some of them, like if she wanted to do something on Google Docs, she could access that on any device. But if she was working on a movie, it would only be on the iPad. So some apps are specific to the iPad and the iPad experience, and some have a way that they will sync with any device.
All right. Along those lines, export functionality, like when they take their own photos, make their own iMovies, if you guys have a type of district as a user,
can airdrop
Okay.
from device to device. I don't think the hardwire works because of the way that the devices are set up, but there are other ways to do it.
Is this gonna replace books for middle school that they had to bring one from
It's funny because we were talking about that. Our middle school teachers are up in Apple's headquarters right now trying to figure out the best way to move forward, and we were talking about ways in which we can minimize the books. So will I say they're replacing? Probably not this year, but I would say we are working towards minimizing and then replacing. It's our first year, so it's kind of the training wheels of what do we need to do and where do we need to go next, and we are looking at, like, there's new science standards coming. Well, we need to make sure then that whatever curriculum we purchase is something that's device friendly and not here's another 400-pound textbook that
Well, I'm
you
just
know,
looking at the thumb drives, because last year the science was.
all that stuff can be stored on here.
Bluetooth functionality for them, also the speakers.
It's on. Yep. So I know one of the students asked me earlier today, can I customize my iPad? Yes, you can change your wallpaper, you can change your background. We're not locking those things down, so students will be able to have that ability to, if they want to move the apps, put them in folders based on how they, process, they will have that ability to customize those types of features as well. So for those of you that have your children with you, if you want to sign the form, you can leave it with me, and I will make sure that it gets to the proper people at the start of the year. For those of you that don't, you can turn it into your child's teacher at the start of the year. Keep the first page. It has my contact information. You can email me anytime if you have more questions that pop up. Feel free to ask. And I really thank you for coming in. It means a lot. So thank you and have a good night.